the promises of God. There are parameters on what faith can bring about. And this kind of faith we're talking about is faith in what God has already promised. So it's those who trust the promises of God without doubting. Here's what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 21. He said, if you have faith and you do not doubt, whatever you ask in prayer, you will receive. You see, it's not about how badly you want to see what you hope for. It's about having no doubt that you will see it. And I'm going to just tell you, as a Christian, I don't know that it's possible to really have zero doubt whatsoever when we're asking things that are outside the parameters of the promises of God. And God has made many, many promises, and they are huge. So we got plenty of room to work with there. We got plenty of latitude in what we can ask God for. Now, these truths, and they are true, but they are probably among the most abused doctrines, the most abused scriptures that there are. These things are transformed into something completely different by a lot of people. Many people say things like this: just believe enough, and God will make sure that you have perfect health all the way until you die. I don't know how the death comes into that. And they'll say things like, just believe enough, and God will make you wealthy. Just believe enough, and God will make you successful. And he'll throw in happiness to boot. You heard preaching like that? You heard teaching like that? Nobody's ever heard preaching like that? Everybody go to bed at 9 o'clock. It comes on about 9:30. You know those channels? It's all over the place. I'll tell you, here's the thing, and why I want to preach on this is because it's not only on those channels, it's seeping into a lot of churches. A lot of people are wanting to go there because, listen, this appeals to people, doesn't it? You hear Jesus say that, and I don't know about you, but my vision starts warming up those Amazon trucks, and they're going to come bury my house in boxes, right? That kind of a thing. But I don't think that's what he's talking about at all. So let's examine this doctrine. We call it prosperity gospel, and it doesn't always go that far. It can seep in just there's partially. It's not good. But let's look at Hebrews chapter 11, and let's go down to verse 35. I've read this to you before in a different context, but 35, and let's look at the second half of verse 35, the second sentence. In light of the prosperity gospel, what would we do with passages like this? Some were tortured, refusing to accept release so that they might rise again to a better life. Others suffered mocking and flogging and even chains and imprisonment. They were stoned. And my favorite, they were sawn in two. They were killed with the sword. They went about in skins of sheep and goats, not wealthy but destitute, afflicted, mistreated. Verse 38, of whom the world was not worthy, wandering about in deserts and mountains and in dens and caves of the earth. Now look at verse 39. In all these, though commended through their faith, these are people who had faith. These are people who God commended through their faith. These are people who were engaged, living by faith right. And look at what happened to them. They don't sound all that healthy, wealthy, and wise. They were wise, but they don't sound all that healthy and wealthy, right? But look at the rest of verse 39. All these things, though commended through their faith, all these, though commended through their faith, did not receive what was promised. So what are we going to do with that? Well, we know if we read on with it, they did receive what was promised. But let me read just one more passage to try to clarify this. It's in Romans chapter 8, verse 24 and 25. It says this. This is Paul. For in this hope we were saved. Now hope that is seen, not hope. Our definition said this is the consistency of things hoped for. And Paul says, now hope that is seen is not hope. For who hopes for what he sees? But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. And Paul is telling us the promises of God are very real. The promises of God are for today. But listen, the complete fruition of the promises of God is in the future.